The first word is we. Sounds strange, I know. Let's say you're going out and you are selling what it is that you do to a group of individuals, and they're meeting with 3 or 4 other potential prospects. All of those people are saying, we can do this, we can offer you that, we will do X, Y, and Z, this is the cost. Everyone is saying we, and the people that you're selling to, they don't know who we is. All I'd like you to do is replace we with your company's name. You do that, and that starts to stick. You can say things like, leading RE does this, leading RE is this, leading RE will, and all of a sudden, people remember leading RE. So no more we, change it to your company's name. The second word, think. I think we should do this. I think this is a good idea. I think we would work well together. No one is paying you to think, they're paying you to know. And we as the leader need to be more direct and more confident in what it is that we're saying. It's not, I think this is a good idea. This is a good idea. Not, I think we would work well together. We would work well together. Be more direct with your language. Let people see the confidence that you have. Demonstrate it. And the third word that I don't want you to say anymore in sales is the word if. If you have time this week, what works for you? If we could do this, how would that help you? No more if. What we want to do is we want to change it to when. When do you have time this week that'll work for you? They have to decide. And if this week doesn't work, they'll choose another time. When we do this, what would this create for you? When implies that you're going to do it. No more if, it's when. No more think, get rid of it. And no more we, replace it with your company's name. Replace those 3 words in the next week and watch the connection. Watch your confidence be demonstrated like nothing else before. My name is Ryan Avery. Thanks for watching, and I will look forward to seeing you at my keynote or in the next video.
I've caught myself saying that a lot, well, I think it'd be a good idea if we looked into that, right? Or, we should be doing this. When markets change, agents typically are hesitant in being more direct in their communication because consumers are acting differently. And if we're not direct in how we communicate, then the client is going to drive the transaction all the way. Raise your hand if you've had a client send you something they saw on Zillow after 9 o'clock at night, right? Okay, I mean, everybody, they still do it. Oh, have you seen this? Yes, you sent that to me yesterday. And so how do you control the conversation? And not that we're controlling it so they do what we want them to do, but how do you lead them to where you want them to go? We want to get to a property that we are going to enjoy living in. We want to get our property on the market so we can attract people that are going to want to buy it. We can't spend months and months and months looking at property, hoping that once we see one, we'll know that's the one we want to buy. So I want to give you all some communication tips that I've used for a long time, that I've pulled from other professionals that we could use in how we communicate now. And I like this a lot. I know some of the other companies, Coldwell Banker is really good at doing this. At Coldwell Banker, blah, blah, blah. They even put up a billboard. I don't necessarily agree with it. Said, you're not just hiring an agent, you're hiring a company. Well, my philosophy is you're hiring an agent of Bickerstaff Parham who's surrounded by other professional agents. They're hiring you. They're not saying, Reynolds, really want to hire a company. Which agent do you think is going to do the best job for me? We get referrals from our network, but we're successful because y'all are running your independent businesses. But I do believe that when you're talking, using the name, Bickerstaff Parham. Well, as an agent of Bickerstaff Parham, we're the leading professionals in this market. At Bickerstaff Parham, we've sold over 40% of the homes in this neighborhood. And you could say, I've sold over 40% of the homes in this neighborhood. That could be true too. And I think we should offer, well, I think we should just wait. we've got some information, we need to review it. It's a good idea not to respond until tomorrow. Oh, okay. A lot of times agents will communicate in a way that gives control back to the client, and we can't give them control. We want to educate them on what the right thing to do is. No, not at all. Not at all. I'd love to say yeah. When they're asking you, well, Mary, what do you? They say, well, what do you think? Oh, well, I think we should do it. Right? I mean, they're asking for your advice just because, and they're looking for a trusted advisor to lead them through the process. And that's really what the goal is just communicate a little differently that's more direct and shows confidence, because you'll all know what to do. It's just sometimes the way it comes out, it may leave a little uncertainty in the consumer. Like, well, you know what? Let's go look at something else. I'm not interested in this property anymore. And maybe we could have communicated a little more directly to guide them to the right decision, or cause them not to have an emotional reaction to what happened. So I've given you a whole list, and we've got a little bit of time. I was going to take some notes. Some of these are great, and a lot of them are really, really good. But my favorite are from The Full Fee Agent by Chris Voss. And I include the bullet points are really just some general questions to help overcome their objections, right? Why'd you choose this neighborhood over others when you made your purchase? I like this one a lot. It's further down. It says, you're probably thinking your home will sell very quickly. What price did you have in mind? Or you probably think your home is going to sell really quickly. What did Zillow say? Addressing some of these elephants in the room immediately helps you move forward faster. Would it be crazy to think you have a price in mind? What else do we need to discuss? I told a new agent this yesterday. She's meeting, it's one of the new agents in Auburn. She's meeting some buyers for the first time this weekend, and she's not nervous by any means. But I just said, look, a great strategy is always to never stop talking till you've asked a question, right? It's like when you're kids. If you have kids and they ask you something and you respond with an answer, can I have some ice cream? No. Why not? Because I said so. Well, why not? It's past your bedtime. Well, I'm not tired. Like, oh my, you're about to be asleep. I'm about to put you to sleep. Oh, can I have some ice cream? Ice cream sounds great. You didn't finish your homework next time. You didn't finish your homework early, and it's time for bed. Never said no, never said yes. But I've pivoted a whole nother conversation. Well, why can't I have ice cream? Well, I know it'd be a great reward for you, and I'd love to have some ice cream now too, but we don't have ice cream after 10. Is that something that, so I didn't end with a question. Oh, have you brushed your teeth? You're like, they don't know how to combat it. But when we leave ourselves open by not ending in the question, you don't close the loop. You kick it back to them. And so if a client's asking, well, I'm just not ready to make a decision. I know we looked at a lot of houses today, didn't we? Yes. I can't possibly make up my mind. Okay. We've looked at, I just don't know what to do. Yeah. We've looked at a lot of houses today, and I tried to point out the reasons why I wanted you to see these. Which one stands out the most in your mind now? Oh, well, I really like the blah, blah, blah. We've got to move the conversation along, because they don't know how to. They need someone to guide them through the process. So just changing how we communicate a little, not change who you are, just read through these. Maybe there's some helpful ones in here. There's some great ones on the back page about commissions. These work so well. I used one, I say used one. It's like I just talk this way, so I don't feel like I'm using it as a tactic. It just becomes part of natural conversation. I called up someone whose commercial office building we had listed a couple months ago. and they're working through some things. And I just called up and said, hey, we called up for a second. I said, well, hey, is now a good time to talk about real estate? Well, yeah, what's up? Well, I was just, curious, would it be ridiculous to continue our conversation about putting the office building back on the market? But no, that's not ridiculous at all. But let me tell you what's going on. And it was like, whoa, we definitely need to wait. Y'all got to sort. There's some things that need to be sorted out. I said, well, when would be a good time to follow back up with you? And he said, you know what? I think the first of the year will probably have everything ready, selling some estate stuff. Instead of saying, hey, would you be interested in listing your property again with me? We've got to learn how to diagnose the issue, because a lot of folks are working through maybe something in their own life. They don't know how to interpret what's all happening in the economy right now. They may have concerns about that. So we've got to change some of the ways we communicate to help uncover where they are right now and if there's someone that needs to be helped. Because if we go back to that slide, it is not a good time if you don't need to buy or sell to be in the market. It's just not. But if you need to buy or sell, it is a great time. There are tons of opportunities out there. I see y'all putting them up. Y'all are selling houses, you're listing houses, and they're selling because those people need to do that. But you can't help someone who's not ready, and you've got to learn how to communicate that to either help them move forward in the process or realize that maybe now's not the best time for me. Today would be a great time to reach out and say, hey, would it be crazy to think that this is a good time to check back in with your mortgage lender and see what rate they'd quote you and start looking again? Today's a great day to call any buyer who is kind of taking a break, because I guess, you know what they're not tracking? They're not looking at the 10-year treasury. It's like, oh gosh. My Google alert went off today and said mortgage rates dropped. Chantrell, can you meet me at 12 today? I want to go look at houses again. Those people are rare. They need us to guide them through the process. So if you went through your database of all buyers you worked with at the beginning of the year and have taken a break, you could just call them up and say, hey, I was at a sales meeting, and would it be unreasonable to think with where mortgage rates are now that we should revisit going out and looking at properties? Are they going to say no? Okay, great. I'll check in with you in a couple months. Let's get coffee. The professionals are out there getting business and being proactive. But if we're going to sit here and wait for a buyer to call us back when they need to buy, they might meet someone else during that time period, right? I mean, that happens all the time. So I just want to challenge you to think about, am I communicating to my clients the way that's going to help them move along in the process? And I put some in here about commission because I know a lot of agents are being challenged on their commission right now. And I think some of these are really, really good. Would it be crazy to think the fee an agent charges is a direct reflection of their ability to negotiate? Are you opposed to hearing why the discount agents can charge so much less and still claim to provide the same results or better? Would it be crazy to think that at some level there's a correlation between the fee an agent charges and the results they produce? A lot of agents do so much more for their clients than the average agent does. I hear y'all's stories about what you do for your clients, and I'm not saying we aren't charging enough. I am going to make the point that some other agents are charging too much because they don't do anything at all. And y'all can probably name a couple of them, which we won't name that because we are recording this to be shared with other agents or company. But you get my point, is if we don't have a professional conversation with some of our clients and they challenge us on these topics, we've got to be able to communicate back to them what our value is. And most of them are only going to challenge once. So, they may ask, well, will you list my house for 2.5%? Like, oh, you asked me the question. I'm not prepared to answer a commission question today. So I really would like to help you with that. But, I charge, my compensation is set at this rate because of the things that I do to help my clients sell their properties. would you like to hear what the difference is between an agent like myself and one that charges a reduced rate? Because if you want a reduced rate and you want less service, then yes, you can go find lots of people that list your house for maybe 2%. They'll be happy to do that, and they won't do a thing. They'll put a sign up, put an MLS, and they'll pray that it sells before a month and a half is up, right? And that's one reason to work expired listings now too, y'all. There's really good opportunity out there because agents are not having conversations with their clients about the market, and they're not understanding if their client even needs to buy or sell right now. They're just riding around and hoping something will happen. So just want to ask you real quick, get my Post-it board out. We've got maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Yes. How do you, let's start with this one. How do you respond to a seller when they ask you to reduce your compensation? What do you say to them? No, I don't.
Say I don't have the authority to do that. I work for
And what do they say? He doesn't need anything.
I don't have to tell you we do that. We don't discount our services. And what would you like me to discount service-wise?
Yeah. Great point. What do you want me not to do to market your property?
I just had that issue last week and with my current buyers, one of my current buyers, and it's a long paragraph that you had did last year that you had given us.
Okay.
Elements in the real estate industry and all that. But the main point was, I said our firm charges a 3% compensation to represent you. See the company disclosures and policies sent. This has always been the case. That's at the end of what I put, but.
And what did they say to that, Jennifer?
Oh, I mean, it was a long list of.
I mean, They
say, thank you for explaining all of this so clearly. Yes, that sounds reasonable to us. We appreciate you confirming the commission details ahead of time and making sure we understand how it works. And then the buyer said that we're looking over and signing the agreement now so we can move forward.
Excellent. Way to go. You just shared something that you picked up from one of our sales meetings with them. Yep, perfect. So
show all properties you have an interest in, and always have the option of instructing us and writing to only show you properties for the seller or the listing broker that offers compensation to the buyer.
well, it is shocking, but it's the truth. People still don't know how our industry works. They don't know how we're compensated. And they're asking, what is the number one reason why someone asks us to reduce our fee? It's the number one reason. Don't answer, Steve. Don't answer, Steve. What do you think the number one reason is why do people ask for a reduction anywhere? Yeah.
What they think is they think the listing agent should pay for it all. Which in the case normally, yes. But I mean, there was something for free. I think we do. But what else?
They don't want to leave money on the table, right? I don't want to leave any money on the table. Will you list my house for 2%? And you respond with what you've mentioned, Jennifer, and Mary will respond. And you're responding with what you're doing is taking a moment. They're asking, that question is, what are you going to do to sell my property? They don't know because a lot of people haven't told them. They haven't seen it. There's all kind of jokes out there about agents doing TikTok videos at the listing. It's like, hey, I got a private place to do my dance by the pool and post on social media. And some of that stuff sells, but they're looking at us as if they're leaving money on the table because they're paying people to just put a sign in the yard and post on MLS. So we've got to communicate our value and what we do and why we're worth it, and you do that once, 90% of them do not have a follow-up question. Oh, that's perfect, Jennifer. Thank you for taking time to explain that. I totally understand. Okay, are we ready to move on to the next step? Yes, right? So Most of them are just asking because they know they can ask now. It's accepted, and they don't want to leave money on the table. So you've got to be prepared for that conversation, not to go like 10 levels deep, but just read through these, talk to each other. You may have some other ways of using this in your own style. However you want to rephrase this is fine with me, but you need to have a standard response in explaining to buyers and sellers why you're seeking this compensation. Why are you different? Without saying something negative about other agents, because they don't know. We talked about that in our last meeting. It's really lack of education. What's our job? Is to inform our clients about the process. This is why my company recommends we offer 6% compensation, because there's two sides. We've talked about this, I feel like years ago, but maybe it was a year and a half ago, right? Back in April of 24, we started talking about the lawsuit. Can you believe the lawsuit settled a year ago? And you know what? We're still in business. We're still getting our value for our services. But what have other people not done? They haven't changed how they communicate their value. And that's where y'all are winning, is you're doing a great job communicating. And today was just a reminder to give you some other tips on how to just refine that a little more so it gets easier and easier and more natural, because they're not going to stop asking. And the agents who can't explain that are going to be the ones who get in trouble, but also lose business. And I really do believe that 2026 is the year we're going to lose a couple of 100,000 agents.
Oh, darn.
So what if you took 5 minutes today, read through this, read through one of the Leading RE brochures, and found some content to post to your social media account, share with your database? Heck, copy it in your phone so you have notes to copy and paste in a text or email when you want to respond to someone who asks you to reduce your compensation, right? I'm not expecting you all to memorize this. Heck, I don't even memorize it. I practice it a lot so I can say most of these things without looking at my sheet, but I've read this, 50, 60 times to try to make sure that, is this even going to work? How does this sound? And you read through it and think, and so I start using it when I talk to people. I say, would it be ridiculous to think we should meet next week and talk about your property? No, that's not ridiculous at all, Reynolds, but I don't have time next week. Can we meet the following week? Well, of course. Just how we change a little bit of the communication opens people up to having a conversation. And boom, once you do that, they'll tell you everything. They're wanting to talk to someone about how to buy or sell real estate. They just haven't met someone who is willing to understand how to guide them through the process. And that's y'all. So challenge y'all. What if you took a couple minutes each day, you read through one of our Leading RE brochures, read through, got some tips, and think about that question. This is probably the most important question we're going to face the rest of the year, maybe throughout the rest of our career, is how are you going to respond to a seller when they ask you to reduce your compensation? We got to get y'all are already so good at doing that. But I think if we were to get better, we've got to constantly refine what we do. And it's really been a year since we talked about this almost. So I challenge y'all to do that. If you have, I'd love to hear your feedback, and I'd love really to hear the next time you have someone ask you this, what you said to them to move the conversation forward. Because other agents here want to know what you're doing and how to be successful, because we're not competing with each other. We're all working together to help each other's business. And that's one thing I do love about Bickerstaff Parham, is everyone is always so willing to share. And that's what makes these meetings so much more valuable, is when you share your experience trying something. So thank you all for sharing that this morning. I'm going to wrap up. You had one more thing, Steve?
Well, I was going to say, don't forget to give us the opportunity to talk about this.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Does anybody have a new listing?
We're coming up in Paula. It's a 4-3 listing at $4.99, pool